Good afternoon, guys. Jordan here with the Nutty Gnome Homestead. Today is June 2nd, 2023, and we are out here in the garden getting ready to prune our tomato plants. Now, a lot of people think they prune their tomato plants, but you're not taking enough of the foliage off. We prune our tomato plants for multiple reasons. One being is to help prevent the dreaded tomato blight. Another is to help production of tomatoes. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how we go through and prune our tomatoes for maximum production to where we can pick more tomatoes and have healthier plants well into the fall until we have our first frost. So I'm going to turn you guys around and I'm going to show you what we're dealing with. Okay, so we're standing right here in the garden next to our row of tomatoes, and as you guys can see, these tomatoes are looking really good. They were planted early, they got in the ground early. It was kind of cool when we got them in the ground. I wasn't sure how they were going to handle that, but it looks like everything went okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our pruners here and we are going to sanitize them. If you clip a limb or a leaf or even touch one that is infected, you can transmit that disease to another plant or even to the same plant that you've already cut on. You don't want to do that. So what we have here is just a little bit of rubbing alcohol. We're going to get these cleaned up. You guys can see it drying on there already. And we are going to get in here and start pruning these. So I want to get you guys in here close. You guys can see right here. You see those brown spots? Those are from the last rain, brushing up some dirt. I didn't get these tomatoes mulched in like I normally do, and we had some dirt and probably some mold and whatnot splash up on top of the leaves. This is where your blight and your disease and your funguses are going to come from. Instead of trying to fight this early in the season, I'm just going to prune it off. Now, if you guys can see this, we have a sucker here, and this is the leaf that is infected. I'm just going to clip this leaf off. We're going to remove it because we don't want to leave anything in there. You guys see this leaf right here? We're going to clip that off. We prune every week to 10 days or so, and what we're doing, not only are we removing the potential for disease and infection in these plants, but we're also removing foliage to allow us to have better airflow, which is going to help prevent a lot of our problems later in the season. You see these branches that are coming in here on the inside? It's real thick, matted mess in here. So I'm going to take some of these branches out. I'm going to open this up. We're going to get some good airflow in here. I don't want to cut anything that has the potential to produce any fruit. I mean, you could, especially this early in the season. There's plenty of time for them to recover. Here's a weed. We'll go ahead and get that out of there. Get rid of these. So, as you guys can see, hopefully, we have these leaves in here. We're going to get in here, we're going to clip these out. We don't want any of these leaves that are crossing any of the leaves that are going in to the center. We want to get rid of all of these branches off of these tomato plants that could inhibit any kind of airflow. Now this is all off the same plant. I've not come across anything diseased yet, so I haven't cleaned any of my cuts yet, or my shears between the cuts. But as soon as I come across something that appears to be diseased or has the potential, when in doubt, it's a lot easier to sanitize than to try to fix a problem later on. So as you guys can see, you see how we're opening this up. We took off a branch that was here. We took off a branch that was here. We took off a branch that was here. A branch here. There's a branch that was up here angling down. We took all those off and we opened this up. There is a good 10 or 12 inches of clearance now just on this side of the tomato plant, where we're going to have good airflow, which is going to help prevent a lot of our future problems. The sooner we can get this done in the season, the better off we're going to be later on in the year. When it gets to be August, September, when it's 100, 110 degrees, 90+% humidity, we're going to have a lot of problems. We're going to be covered up in blight, and we want to make sure that our plants are healthy when they're going to start being attacked. So if you have healthy plants, they can fight off the infections, they can fight off the attacks from the insects, and keeping them pruned up is what's going to help keep them healthy. Now here's another plant. This is one of our aromas, and I'm going to try to get in here and show you how we do this. We do the same thing with our aroma, our beefsteak, our mortgage lifters. All of them are treated exactly the same way. So this leaf right here is coming in from the other side. You guys can see it can cross. So just like with our fruit trees, when we prune, any tree or any branch that is crossing comes out automatically. And this is a good healthy plant. I don't see any problems on it at first glance. I did sanitize my shears from the last plant to this one, so we should be good. There's another one that's crossing. You guys see these down here? I do have a little bit of necrosis on the end of this one. I'm just going to clip those off. And you guys can see I've got a pine cone in here from putting in this pine straw. I'm just going to lift this up and set it up there. I want to keep this fruit up off of the ground. I don't want any insects or moisture damage or anything to happen down there. So I'm just going to try to do my best to keep those from getting infected and getting sick. We got another branch here that is crossing. I think I'll take this one right there. This one is growing on the inside. I don't want that. It's not going to do us any good. I want to open this center up and get as much airflow as we can. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this branch right in here. It is growing in and down towards the center of this plant. So I'm going to go ahead and clip it out as well. Now, I'm just slowly taking my time on down this row of tomato plants, and I'm going to work up and down one side completely, and then I'm going to come around on the other side and trim up on that as well. I want to make sure that I get 360 degrees of airflow around each one of these plants. I want to make sure I can open them up, get airflow in between it. That's going to help prevent a lot of our future problems. So like I said, I got these tomatoes up off of the ground. We're doing good there. Here's a leaf that's sitting right on the ground. I'll go ahead and take it off. Here's another leaf that's touching the ground. There's no point in having those. Get rid of them, because all they're going to do is they're going to get infected first. And once they're infected, they're going to infect the rest of your tree. Or your tomato plant. Just like working with fruit trees, it's the same concept. We're going to move on up here to this next one. We got a leaf sticking out here on the bottom. We don't need it. I am going to try to push some of these in here. We got a leaf right here. Leaf right here. It's growing down. It's not going to do us any good. Go ahead and get rid of it. I'm going to pull this back on the inside because I want to get these trained to go up. These leaves down here aren't doing us any good. Now this is a good time of year that if you have any suckers on your tomato plants, to go ahead and pick off your suckers and get them started to create new plants. They'll actually produce fruit a lot quicker than if you're trying to start a tomato from a seed. All the hard work's already done. we're getting that opened up pretty good. Come around and work on it from the other side. So here's another one of our Roma tomato plants. And I don't know how well you guys can see this on the video, but I'm going to try to get you in real close. All we're going to do is we're going to come right up next to the stem of the tree, and we're going to clip off these branches, these leaves, whatever you want to call them. We don't want to use a dull pair of scissors or a dull knife or anything, because it's going to create some damage. Get you guys in there close so you can see. Do not, under any circumstances, leave these leaves in here with your tomatoes. All they're going to do is they're going to harbor disease. It's going to be a good place for disease to get a foothold, and you don't want that. Right here is a sucker. Since I've already got 3 plants in there, I think one of them, 3 or 4 plants, I'm not quite sure. I'm just going to let it go. It's not going to hurt anything. I only planted, 50, 60, 70 tomatoes. I actually lost count this year. Oh, nowhere near as many as I planted last year, so I'm going to let it go. We'll see. Up here, you guys can see we got this branch that's crossing from one plant to another. We're going to cut it out. And see how much space that's created for air to flow. Simple solutions to these problems, guys. A little bit of preventative maintenance is all it takes to keep your garden healthy. We try not to spray chemicals if we don't have to. When we do, we shoot for all organic any way that we can. But if I can prevent a problem before it gets started, we will end up with blight. Later on in the year, around September, October, we'll actually have some blight. We pull up our garden in October and plant a cover crop, so at that point I'll just quit pruning and deal with it. But prune a couple more of these off down here. By the end of season, I want 18 inches to 24 inches of open space underneath each and every one of my tomato plants. I don't want any space where there's any kind of leaves or anything that could potentially block airflow, or rain could start pound on the ground and knock up a bunch of mold spores or fungus or whatnot. I want to get these all cleaned up from the ground up to about 18 to 24 inches by mid of summer. Usually by about middle of July, all of my tomato plants are going to be pruned up about as high as they're going to go. Maybe into August, depending on how they are producing. But I'll have these all pruned up middle of summer, 18 to 24 inches. Now I'm losing light very quick, guys. It's about 6:30 or so. But here's some really good examples. You guys see this branch? It's going to come out. That opens up some more that need to come out. Branches down here growing right straight down. They come out. This branch is in my way, it's getting rid of. All those branches down there where they're touching the ground, that's a no-no. Absolutely nothing is going to touch the ground. I want to make sure none of those leaves touch, because they're going to be the first to get infected, the first to spread disease, first to become a problem. We got a leaf here that's crossing over, it's gone. That leaf is crossing, it's gone. Okay, you guys see down in there, we got some yellow, got some necrosis going on. Looks like we might have a little bit of blight. We've had some really hot days in the 90s already. Probably high humidity. Well, there's no probably to it. It's been pretty dang hot. So, I haven't quite got to it yet. Once I get in there, I'm going to start sanitizing my shears in between cuts. Matter of fact, let me go get my alcohol now. So I just went and sanitized. I'm going to get a couple of these cut. Wipe my shears off with some alcohol again. Get everything wiped off. It's a little time consuming, but trust me guys, it's going to make a world of difference in your tomato production. See how that tomato plant's just kind of laid over from the weight? There's not a problem with that. All those limbs are going to start growing up. I can actually work with this. You know, just like with your fruit trees, guys. Yeah, if it's already pruned by the time you get it for an open center, it's a lot easier to work with it than it is to try to retrain it into a central leader. So, I've got a fruit tree pruning video I'll be doing later as well, so I'll show you guys how we do that. We've got a big limb leaf right here crossing. We'll get it out of there. Wow, see how much space that opened up in there? This limb that limb right there, 10 inches long, crossed over 2 plants. This limb crossing over some branches. It's gonna be kind of hard to take too much, guys. Especially this early on. Plants are healthy. They're producing a lot of fruit. They're going to be producing a whole lot more. We're going to fertilize these guys with, I haven't quite decided yet. We do something high in potassium and phosphorus. We don't need so much of the nitrogen. So that is how we prune our tomato plants. I'm going to get a couple more of these guys done, and I'll bring you in and I'll show you what they look like when we're all finished. This is all the waste we took off of those tomato plants. Like I said, you don't want to leave that out there. It's going to draw pest and draw disease. I've got on both sides. So we're going to get this picked up. I compost it. Since we hot compost, ours gets hot enough to kill off any pathogens or bacteria. Alright guys, you see how open it is underneath these plants? Now these plants are only, 2 foot tall, maybe 30 inches or so. So obviously we can't prune 24 inches off of them. But see how open it is in there? Move on down. That's what we're looking for. We're trying to open these up and get it to where it's real easy for the air to flow through, for us to reach in and grab the tomatoes, and if we have to get in there and remove or treat any fungus, molds, disease, pest, etc. So just a little recap on what we do. You want to start with a good pair of clean shears. You want to prune the leaves and the branches as close to the main stem of the tomato plant as possible. You don't want to prune out towards the end. An open wound like that could be inviting more disease or bugs or whatnot. You want to get out there and try to prune every week, 10 days, 2 weeks or so. Bare minimum twice a month. I've got a lot of tomato plants, so it takes me a couple days to get out here and get all these done. If you've only got a couple. And the same goes for if you've got your tomatoes in a tub. We've grown tomatoes in mineral tubs and 5-gallon buckets as well. We prune those up too. It helps that airflow getting around the plants, especially with the disease. That makes a big difference. And you'll find that once you start pruning your plants, more energy immediately goes to the produce that's already on the vine. The tomatoes that are on here, they're going to start ripening up in the next couple of days. Almost instantly, you're going to start noticing a difference. They're immediately going to start putting on more flowers. Now's the time we're going to get out here and we're going to fertilize them. Like I said, we're going to do something that's high in phosphorus and potassium. I don't need so much of the nitrogen because they're already green, they're already healthy. They are going to continue to grow, but I want them to be encouraged to put on more flowers and set more fruit. You need your potassium and phosphorus for that. So that's how we prune our tomato plants, guys. It's 1st of June, June 2nd actually. So you got plenty of time to get out there and get your tomato plants pruned up. I highly suggest you do it sooner than later, before any of the other problems start to happen. Sooner or later, you are going to have some issues. I like to get ahead of the problems before they get started. Doing it this way really makes a difference. So that's all there is to this, guys. Get out there and prune your tomato plants. They're going to be a lot healthier. You're going to set more fruit, and it's going to be a lot better quality. It's not too hard. If you guys have any questions about pruning your tomato plants, please feel free to shoot me a message down below or get a hold of us over on Nutty Gnome Homestead on Facebook. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please let me know. Till next time, get out there, prune your tomato plants. I guarantee you're going to like the results.